Hello, I'm Will Sampson. Welcome to the Woodworking Network podcast. Welcome to the Woodworking Network podcast, where we explore the business of woodworking and what it takes to succeed. I'm Will Sampson. This episode is sponsored by FDMC Magazine. And don't forget to take our survey at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcast-survey. Today we'll be talking with Stuart Topp, inventor of a new tool called the blind stapler. But first I want to talk about the magic of inventing. I just can't help loving inventors. Ever since I was a kid, I've been captivated by stories of invention and inventors. People who discovered a new land or new scientific principle were never as interesting to me as the people who took those discoveries and made something with them. Inventors at their heart are makers who solve problems. They are inspired, no, energized by seeing a difficulty or irritant that needs to be overcome. Sometimes their solutions work and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're wildly successful and sometimes they die in obscurity. But along the way, they never stop making new things. Practically every woodworker I've ever met has a bit of an inventor streak. When I visit their shops, they always want to show me some clever jig or fixture, some inventive way they solved a construction challenge. Sometimes I have to tell them that they've invented the same wheel that many others have independently invented. Or I feel compelled to point out flaws or potential improvements in their inventions. The thing is, most inventors don't mind that. All they want to do is improve what they have made and solve problems. Oh, sure, there are some that hope to get rich from their inventions. They chase after patents, licensing, and marketing opportunities, or they struggle to manufacture and market a product themselves. I can relate a bit to that. I once invented a device for guitars that made them have some of the attributes of a pedal steel guitar. I started to pursue a patent, and I also manufactured a bunch of them myself to sell. The patent proved elusive and potentially very expensive. My prototypes found their way to a number of talented guitarists who created a new sound for themselves with the device, but it never took off. Paul Akers, who started his company FastCap with a screw cover invention of his own, now collects the inventions of others and helps bring them to market. In most cases, he doesn't go after patents, instead focusing on being first to market with unique problem-solving inventions for woodworkers. Chances are the inventors who work with him make more in royalties and with less hassle than people who took a similar path to what I did. I remember talking to one inventor who spent years unsuccessfully trying to get various tool manufacturers to license his patented inventions while watching similar products come to market with or without patents. Lots of bad ideas make it to market while good ideas languish. Big companies regularly put money on ideas that don't make it in the marketplace. Then they move on to other ideas, hoping to find one that works. Cash-strapped inventors are more likely to give up before their product is recognized in the marketplace. After all, they're more focused on creating new things than they are on selling stuff. Some of our most famous inventors achieved fame partly because they were talented marketers. Thomas Edison comes immediately to mind. In these days of crowdsourced funding and social media promotions and greater access to technology, it might be easier to launch an invention. But also those technologies make it easier for less scrupulous companies and countries to steal ideas and squash upstart inventions. What they can't squash, though, is that inventive spark that drives makers to create new things in the first place. It's that voice that won't be silenced, screaming in your head, "There's got to be a better way to do this." And it's the energy you feel when you succeed in finding that better way and making it a reality. Speaking of inventors, I want to get to our interview with Stuart Topp and hear more about his invention. But first, let's pause for a word from our sponsor. FDMC Magazine is your vital source of information to improve your woodworking business. Whether it is keeping you apprised of the latest advances in manufacturing, helping you solve your wood technology problems with Gene Wengert, or inspiring you with case histories about successful businesses and best practices, FDMC Magazine is there to be the sharpest business tool in your shop. Learn more and subscribe for free at woodworkingnetwork.com/FDMC. Today, our guest is Stuart Topp, a cabinet industry veteran who has invented a clever new tool called the blind stapler. If you do face frame cabinets, this tool could dramatically change the way you work. But besides just a cool new tool, there's more to the story, including a fascinating charitable effort that is connected to it. Welcome to the Woodworking Network podcast, Stuart.
Thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Before we get into the details of the blind stapler and your charity mission, let's first talk a little bit about your background. You've been in the cabinet industry, what, nearly 50 years?
Yeah, 50 years this year. I started on the West Coast, and then I went to Hawaii for a couple of years, and then I was asked to start a company in Alaska. And I went there for 3.5 months and stayed for 8.5 years, and did really well there. And then basically moved to Maui, Hawaii, and I was going to not work anymore, and that lasted for 6 weeks. And then opened up a shop and got my general's license there, and we just were real successful for 30 years. And 9 years ago, almost, we moved to central southern Virginia, where I am right now, where we build all the parts for the tool at the technical center in South Boston, Virginia, and then we put everything together here and we sell them.
That sounds great. Now, at the peak of your cabinet career, what was your shop like? How many employees and what kind of work did you guys do?
In Alaska, I had 60 employees. My partner and I, we did residential, not too much unless we were building the entire project. We did 1,500 houses in the Matanuska Valley one year. We did quite a few almost complete teardowns that we redid, and we were written up in Architectural Digest. We were really fortunate to meet a lot of good people up there that were willing to take a chance on a young up-and-coming company, and it paid off very well for us. It was great. We had a really, really good crew, and in 8.5 years, we only turned over 5 guys.
That's great. Now, when did you come up with the idea for the blind stapler?
About 42 years ago. You try and do something, you think about it, and life gets in the way, and all you're trying to do is, feed your family, get a little ahead, help other people. And when we moved to Southern Virginia, the time actually opened up to where I could go out into my shop and take the time to design it. Basically, my wife told me to go out there and do it because I've been talking about it so long. And the Holy Spirit just designed the whole thing for me. And this has been his project. And 2.5 years later, we're selling it. We're starting to do really well. And it's been a real blessing. We're really happy with what's going on.
So how exactly does the blind stapler work? What does it do, and what makes it so significant?
Well, I was kind of shocked. I didn't realize that so many people around the nation still nailed through the face, and there's a lot of painted cabinets out there now. That's kind of the trend. So you have to Bondo and sand and Bondo and sand and Bondo and sand, and then you take it in the booth and you have to inspect it after it comes out. And if there's any marks, you still have to work with those. Or if you have stain grade or clear coats. If you putty the face frame, it doesn't matter. After 3 months of installation, the wood changes color, but the putty doesn't. So you always see the putty. And so I figured that if we could figure out a way to shoot this from the underside and have a clamping system, that we could save a huge amount of time and money. And so I just designed it with the Lord's help for sure. And that's where we're at right now. It saves a huge amount of time. It saves a minimum of a half an hour a cabinet.
Now I've played with this in my own shop, and it's a cool tool. It's got two grips with plunger triggers on them, and you hook it up to your pneumatic air tool supply. One plunger operates a clamping device, and the other plunger fires a staple from the backside of the cabinet into the face frame. So you got two hands on the tool, so it's real safe, even though it's shooting a nail right at you, shooting a staple right at you. But it's very cool the way it works, and in my experience, it's really very fast. Now, what does it do besides face frames? You were saying that there are applications.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. What other applications besides face frames?
There's kind of a trend going back in where people are using high pressure laminates with wood edges on their countertops. And, you always are either just solid clamping the self edge to the countertop with glue, or you're shooting it in and then puttying it. With this tool, you put the countertop, put your piece of wood on it, put the tool to it, shoot it with the glue on the back, let it set for 15 minutes. It's rock hard and there's no marks. It does drop edges on shelves. It saves tons of time on that. It does all sorts of face frames, and it's patented actually to go into the robotics industry when that gets further along.
That's neat. So you conceive it, a robot would have this attached to it, and it could just automatically do the face frames for you.
Yes. And that's just something that we covered ourselves on the patent. So if that ever does materialize, it's already ready to go.
That's a neat application. Now I want to switch gears a bit here. You're retired from the cabinet business, and then you've gone and invented this new tool, but it's not like you're trying to start a new career selling machines. As I understand it, you're trying to fund another interest of yours that has to do with water wells. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, about 15 years ago, my wife and I decided to start doing water wells with CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network, who founder is Pat Robertson. And we decided that after really investigating everything, that we wanted to do water wells for people around the world that were so underprivileged that they were literally carrying, buckets on their heads, or little kids carrying them for a mile and a half, twice a day to a creek or a river that animals bathe in, that they do their laundry in, and this is the kind of water they're drinking. So with CBN, who's been doing water wells, I think, for about the last 40 years, we are able to partner with them and go out. They go out and they find the place where the water well is supposed to be done, and they either do a well or they do a cistern, and it just changes the whole complexion of the village. The last one we did was in Thailand, and it's usually a water well is 300 to 400 feet deep. And they were going to do a cistern, and they went down 33 feet, and they had fresh water. And the village was 1,500 people, and in less than a year, it grew to almost 5,000 people. And around the cistern, they poured concrete with ports in it. And so now they have crops growing. People go out and take turns pumping the cistern. There's no electricity there, so this is pretty much a foolproof system. So now they have agriculture and they have commerce. So it's really impacted their lives. And that's basically what my wife and I get to do for the rest of our lives. And I say get to, not have to.
That's a big difference. So the profits that you're making from the blind stapler, they're all going to this water well effort.
Yeah, it takes 18 tools, the sales of 18 tools minus what it costs to actually produce the tool and everything, and it takes 18 tools to buy a water well. And everyone that's affiliated with buying the tool is part of this. And when it gets completed, there's a coffee table type of book, more of a magazine that shows the village, where it was done, what the before and afters are, and people are giving notice to who participated in doing well. So it's everybody that buys a tool is part of the community that's helping people around the world.
That's a wonderful story, Stuart. And one of the things I think we overlook, though, too, is, I mean, it's great to think about the water wells. Some people probably come to you just for the stapler and the efficiency it has. And I think we didn't talk about that. You've had some stories of shops that have reported some pretty amazing results on how much time the tool saves them. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, there's a company in North Carolina that bought 3 tools from me just about 2 years ago, and they're a very huge shop. I mean, I think it was multiple acres under one roof, and they had 3 assembly lines, and they worked 4 tens a week, and I gave them one to try on a Tuesday, and I went back on Friday, and they wanted 3 of them. They had figured out everything. They started working, and their production time was cut in half. And I've called them, and up to 6 months ago, there's still not one issue with any one of the 3 tools. The big thing about this tool is I made it with the very finest materials you can find, so it won't break down. I want it to last for at least 25 years. Now, we've got a company.
The package and looked at it the first time, it was, I could tell there was a lot of thoughtful machining work put into that. It's definitely professional grade heavy duty construction. And all the aluminum was flawlessly anodized, and it's a great looking tool. I had a lot of fun using it in my shop for our test. It's a wonderful story, Stuart. We wish you good luck on both the blind stapler front and the water well project. If our listeners would like to learn more about the blind stapler, the easiest way to do it is to go to theblindstapler.com, or just blindstapler.com is the website. And there's videos there and information. You can also read and see my hands-on review of the tool in the shop channel at woodworkingnetwork.com. But thanks again, Stuart, for sharing your story, and I know we'll check back with you later to find out how things are going.
Well, I appreciate it, Will, and you have a blessed day.
You too, Stuart. Thank you much.
That's it for today. If you'd like to get more information about the blind stapler, visit Stuart's website at blindstapler.com. If you're looking for more of our podcasts, you can find all of them at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcasts and in popular podcast channels. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks again to today's sponsor, FDMC Magazine. If you have a comment or a topic you'd like us to explore, contact me at will.sampson@woodworkingnetwork.com. And we would really appreciate it if you would fill out the survey at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcast survey. Thanks for listening.